Hi, BJ Hoffman, Hardin County Supervisor. Kind of unique that I am doing a video on a Sunday evening. I try to respect everybody's time. On Sunday, it's the Lord's Day, it's a day of rest. But I tell you what, something that is really bothersome to my brothers and sisters in the fire service and EMS, and especially those of my brothers and sisters in blue in law enforcement, is bothering me. And I want to talk about it while it's fresh on my mind, fresh in my heart. And I think my constituents and anybody else that wants to share this message, please do, because it hits home with me and it should hit home with you. Inconvenience in life is a horrible thing. We're a society, including myself, instant gratification. I wanted it yesterday. I want that Amazon package today. I want my meal 3 minutes ago. And, I knew when I was elected that I would get phone calls about inconveniences and things not happening the way people would like them. Anything and everything from the Gifford Bridge not being done to Highway 14, from 175 to Highway 96 not being done, the detour by the ethanol plant in Iowa Falls, you name it. I was more than willing to hear the frustrations and concerns, and I'll continue to do that. But I want to roll the clock back to June 1st, 2020. I was at my farm getting ready for a Zoom meeting that evening, and about 7 o'clock, I didn't feel well. And thank God for the COVID virus that my son, Carson, 17 years old, his summer seminar invite to the United States Naval Academy had been canceled. And I walked in to our living room and said, Carson, I don't feel well. I just don't feel good. Something's going on. He immediately said, what do we need to do? I said, I need you to take me to the emergency room right now. So he immediately got my vehicle with me and he drove me to the emergency room. He dropped me off at the door, and had he known at that point what he was doing, things might have been a little different, but with the COVID protocols at the hospital, that was the last time I potentially would have seen him. Hugged him, told him I loved him, and looked him in the eye. Over the course of the next few hours, I underwent a bunch of tests, and at one point, at about 10:30, 11 o'clock, as I could see my truck lights in the parking lot with my 17-year-old son waiting to find out what was wrong with me, what was going on, my provider said, BJ, we need to get you to Des Moines so you can get a higher level of care. There's something definitely wrong with your heart. You need more care than we can provide here. And I was torn because my son sat in a parking lot less than 50 yards from me, and all I wanted is the love and affection and to hold him and hug him one more time before I went to Des Moines. And that inconvenience part of the conversation comes up that just, it tears me up right now. Yeah, I'm a single dad, but I have a mom and dad in Grundy Center. I have an amazing girlfriend that, going on 4 years of being together. I have a lot of friends and people that care about me. But at 11 o'clock on June 1st, 2020, I was told that I can't go to Des Moines yet. You know why? Because the ambulance crew and the receiving hospital in Des Moines was afraid that the rioting and the looting and the violence in downtown Des Moines, they did not want a critical patient getting stuck in that traffic and risking their well-being of their crew, which I can't blame them at all. I know the paramedics and EMTs that were taking care of me that night. And they didn't want to risk me because there were rioters and people making horrible decisions that could have cost me my life. My life. They had no regard for my son. None. Not a single ounce. So I sat in the emergency room 52 miles away from Mercy Hospital for an additional almost 3.5, 4 hours until people could learn to be civil. Are you serious? At what point are we as a society going to say, no, this is not okay? And you saw last night, and if you haven't seen, it's just an embarrassment to society. It's an embarrassment to the people of Los Angeles, California. It's an embarrassment across the country. And I don't care if they should protest. It is ridiculous. When you start taking the life, the livelihood, the health, the happiness, and in my case, these people could have taken the father away from a son, an amazing son, a son that's going to do amazing things in this world, who's going to do great things, who's planning on serving this country. Instead, we turn a blind eye to bad behaviors, bad decisions, and we write it off as they have a right. They have a right. No, they have a right to peacefully protest. They have a right to assemble. But when you get in the way of an ambulance, or you try to siege a hospital or overrun an emergency room, the line was drawn long before that. But it's embarrassing. And I tell you what, I'm nobody special. I'm not one of the 2 officers that was ambushed in Los Angeles County, California last night. I'm nothing compared to those 2 heroes. But I tell you what, my son needs me. My son deserves to have a dad. So I want you to think about how you can go out and support the men and women that put on that uniform, whether they're fighting fires, whether they're in our jails, whether they're the ones answering the calls for help in our dispatch centers, or whether they're the men and women in blue with that badge on going out to do a job that most of us wouldn't even consider doing. But instead, we're willing to turn a blind eye and be okay with trying to take over an emergency room, trying to siege a hospital, trying to block entrance to an emergency room. It took a lot for me, and it tore at my heart and heartstrings today to even come on and tell you about my experience. Because you know what? I could be 6 foot in the ground today, and my son could be by himself. Is that fair? Is that right? That's what society has come to. And I hope that people share this and understand that this can happen at the local level, whether it's in Marshalltown, Iowa Falls, Ames, Des Moines, Omaha, Chicago, Los Angeles, Denver, you name the place. It's time to put our foot down and put it on the people that are responsible for these bad behaviors. Because there's not enough money in the world to replace me in my son's eyes, his heart, or his soul. So, Hardin County, America, time to get off your couch and do something. It's time to take back America. Tonight, when you go to bed, say a prayer. Say several prayers for the men and women that are doing a job that none of us typically have any idea what they walk through in their shoes. Tonight, think about the men and women that are willing to risk everything, and then think about the men and women that are willing to take everything away. It's time for Hardin County to take back what we've had stolen from us. It's the fabric of our culture and the fabric of our society, and it's something that my grandpa, my dad, my mom, my brother have worked far too hard for, to have a bunch of thugs take it away. I'm sorry that it's emotional, but you know what? I'm a pretty good dad, and I care. I care about every one of you. So now, go do something to make a difference in our society.